The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Niraj Periwal. I work as a marketing coordinator here at eFolder, and I'm your host for today's webinar. Today is all about features and facts, Replibit versus Acronis versus ShadowProtect. Today, I am joined by Dave Stuffelbein. He's the Senior Manager of Sales Engineering here at eFolder, and we really appreciate him being here to show you kind of the differences between Replibit, Acronis, and ShadowProtect. So let's cover a few housekeeping items before I go into today's agenda. Today's session is being recorded. The recorded version of the webinar will be made available on our YouTube channel, and we will also make copies of the slides available to those who registered for today's event. We've got over 200 people registered for today's session, so we put everyone in listen-only mode. You may enjoy the audio portion of today's event either by streaming it on your computer or by dialing in over the phone. Now, today's webinar follows a logical flow. After introducing our guest, Dave, we will take a quick look at eFolder's wide range of BDR offerings and how they pertain to our vision for the open cloud. We'll then briefly examine a number of factors that MSPs need to consider when choosing which BDR solution to adopt and deploy to clients. Following this, Dave Stuffelbein, our guest, will walk us through the features and facts of three of eFolder's most popular BDR solutions: eFolder BDR for Replibit, eFolder BDR for Acronis, and eFolder BDR for ShadowProtect. We'll then take a quick look at the tools that eFolder provides our partners to help them market and sell BDR to clients, followed by an interactive Q&A discussion. Now, even though the Q&A discussion is scheduled for the end of the webinar today, we encourage you to submit your questions throughout the webinar, and we'll try to answer them as we go. Now let me go ahead and introduce Dave. Dave Stuffelbein is Director of Sales Engineering at eFolder. He brings over 20 years of technical expertise to the channel team and is involved in technical consulting and partner support for the entire range of eFolder solutions. Working for companies like Macromedia, now Adobe, Corel, Novell, and StorageCraft prior to coming to eFolder, Dave has gained extensive and diverse technical knowledge with vast experience in cloud technologies. David presented to and performed technical trainings at companies like Walt Disney World, Pfizer, Procter & Gamble, Boeing, Walmart, and many more. Dave, thank you so much for joining us today, and welcome.
Thanks, Niraj.
So let's first start out by kind of talking about our vision for the open cloud. So eFolder's always been about enabling our partners to provide their clients with profitable and capable solutions. And in the case of BDR, we partnered with a number of leading image-based software solutions to provide partners with essentially every kind of option they could have for deploying BDR. So we partnered with Acronis, Aperture, which is owned by Dell, Replibit, Veeam, and ShadowProtect, StorageCraft ShadowProtect, to offer, a BDR solution, an end-to-end business continuity solution that works with any of these image-based software solutions. And so what we do is we combine the imaging software with the power and versatility of the eFolder cloud, which provides storage, compute, and recovery capabilities to our partners and their clients. So, when you go in and you partner with us, we provide you with a complete solution, turnkey solution that will give your clients all the BDR capabilities that they need to ensure that their data is being kept offsite and is recoverable in any kind of situation. So even though we're going to go into detail about three of our BDR solutions, let me just talk about kind of the things that all of them have in common. So all of our business BDR solutions are business class. We combine, again, the powerful image-based backup software with the power and versatility of the eFolder cloud. We provide file level recovery, granular recovery for exchange. We offer free and really fast pre-seeding service for all of our partners. You can back up or replicate to the eFolder cloud. We of course offer really robust encryption. We really care about the security of your client's data. So we offer partner or user-owned encryption keys and on-site or cloud-based virtualization and recovery. Now, all of our video solutions are also really flexible and reliable. With ShadowProtect, we provide eFolder supplied BDR appliances, or you can build your own BDR options if you like, with or without an appliance. I will go into detail in a little bit. We offer, again, multiple software choices for our partners, small client options for protecting single server environments. So, even if they don't have a full-on kind of traditional BDR environment, we can still protect them. We have a lot of recovery flexibility, P2V, B2P, V2V, and P2P. So essentially, any kind of amalgamation of P and P you can think of, and multiple recovery options, including the eFolder Continuity Cloud. And of course, because eFolder is a channel-only company, our BDR solutions are channel-ready. So we offer a multi-tenant model, full partner branding, and pricing flexibility, low wholesale pricing for all of our partners, and they can choose how to price their BDR solution for their clients however they like. So, the question a lot of our partners have in mind when they're deploying a BDR solution is, which factor do I consider when I'm trying to decide which BDR solution to adopt? And we've thought of kind of 4 key factors that every MSP needs to keep in mind. The first one is, which BDR solutions are my techs most comfortable with? Now, obviously, when you're trying to help a client recover their data, your techs need to be able to be comfortable with the solution that they're using. And regardless of which BDR solution you ultimately pick, you need to make sure to invest in training and accountability and everything to ensure that your techs know what they're doing and know how to do what they need to do really well. The second thing that you need to consider when choosing which BDR solution to adopt is, how much data do your clients have? Depending on the volume of that data, and kind of the applications and servers that need to be backed up, one BDR solution may be more ideal than the other. So, for example, if your clients have more virtualized data, then eFolder BDR for Veeam may be the best option for them. And finally, what are clients' RTO and RPO requirements? Because depending on which VDR solution you provide to clients, that may differ. So that's an important factor to consider. So now that we've kind of gone over the preliminary info about VDR as a whole, I'm going to hand it over to Dave, and Dave will cover kind of the differences between Replibit, Acronis, and ShadowProtect. So Dave, if you're ready, let's go ahead and get started on that.
Yeah, definitely. I'll let you control the slides.
Yep.
So, thanks, Niraj. And one of the, just to add to some of the things that you've said and kind of reiterate some of the things that you've talked about is, eFolder definitely is open to a lot of different technologies. And one of the main reasons why we do that is simply because not one solution. There's not one solution that's going to fit every single scenario that for all of your customers. As an example, one of our biggest competitors, they kind of have one way of doing it, and it's their way, or no way. And when that way doesn't fit, you actually have to go look for another vendor. So the fact that we actually have 5 different, we're only talking about 3 of the backup and disaster recovery solutions we have today. We actually have 5. That we have 5 image-based type solutions here really gives you a lot of flexibility in ways to grow your business where, you know, ShadowProtect might not be a fit for one, Replibit might be a fit there, or Acronis might be a better fit depending on some of the things that we're going to talk about as we go through these. So, you know, keep in mind, you know, we're not going to lock you into any one of these solutions. If you decide that you want to roll, say, with a Replibit deployment with us, and you find 6 months down the road that there is a customer where Replibit isn't a fit, it just doesn't make sense, and ShadowProtect would be better there, then by all means, give us a call. We'll get you trained on ShadowProtect and teach you how to sell it and how to present it and how to use it and everything else like that, and get you up to speed on it. So, you know, we're going to work with you every time you onboard one of our new technologies. We actually have an onboarding team that's dedicated to making you successful and helping you get your first customer deployed on these technologies as well. So, you know, we're definitely focused on being your best partner and your most profitable partner as well. And as you'll see towards the end when we're talking about some of our pricing here, you'll be surprised to see that, you know, we've got some really good predictable wholesale costs here that are going to, you know, not only make it easier to quote, but long term they're going to make you a lot of money, even in short term a lot of money. So sorry, Neeraj, I just kind of wanted to say those 2 points. But
no, Dave, I mean that was a great way to start off your analysis. I mean, I think, yeah, it's really important to note that we're here for partner success, and, you know, we don't profit if our partners don't profit. So that's why we offer so much flexibility when it comes to our BDR solutions, not one size fits all. And we know that, and we want to help partners go out there and give BDR to their clients in whatever way they feel most comfortable with and whatever way they can get best. So,
exactly. Yeah. Exactly. Now, one point that I want to make to the audience here is, you know, we at eFolder use BDR as a term for backup and disaster recovery, where most of you might be using the term for BDR to talk about a physical appliance that you're going to deploy on site. And I'll do my best to talk about the differences, you know, or make sure I'm talking about an appliance versus a solution. At eFolder, most of the time, we're using the acronym BDR and coining it as a overall solution rather than a physical appliance. And I'll talk about these 3 different solutions, you know, when they actually require a physical BDR on site and when they don't. So I'll make those. I'll depict the differences there as we go through. So go ahead and go on to the next slide. We're going to start talking about some of the value propositions of Replibit and some of the things Replibit can do for you first. Some of the key features here is chain-free backup technology. So those of you who are used to using image-based technologies that are used to having long dependency chains, not that long dependency chains are a bad thing as long as you're managing those chains very well. Like ShadowProtect, we talk about, it does a continuous incremental backup. There's nothing really wrong with that, but you know, we've got over 100 attendees on the phone right now, and I could probably ask the question, how many of you have gone to restore a chain-based backup, not specific to ShadowProtect? It could be Acronis, it could be Apsure, it could be something that we don't have, and have been bitten by a break in the chain. And there's probably people raising their hands right now. So the main difference, the thing that you can get away from with Replibit is that there is no chain dependency. The way that it stores the data in the repository on the Replibit appliance that you deploy at your customer site, it uses a raw virtual disk format and maps all of the injections into that raw disk format, and therefore you are actually chain-free and chain-dependent. It uses, I'll just throw the acronym out there, or it uses a ZFS file system on the back end. So those of you who understand the ZFS advantages there's a lot of advantages for deduplication and everything else like that inside the Replibit appliance to maximize your footprint there. But the main thing is, again, chain-free backup, which also leads to another key feature with Replibit that I think some of the other image-based technology tools have a problem with, is that it is true first in, first out backups. So, or excuse me, retention. So if I take a backup on January 1st, 2015, and I'm keeping 30 days worth of backups, or not chain, but retention. I keep saying the wrong word there. If I'm keeping 30 days worth of retention on January 31st, 31 days later, the timestamp for July 1st actually will drop off from that, and that restore point does go away. Any data that is still needing to be kept in there that's tied to other snapshots are not deleted, but the actual restore point actually does go away. Automated testing and screenshot verifications. This is one of the most the features that no chain dependency, chain backup technology, chain-free backup technology is huge. But one of the things that if you're new to Replibit and you start to test it, you might actually see there's a lot of errors that might start to happen during your backups. And what Replibit's doing is, as it's actually taking the backups of your machines, if the agent's running on the Windows machine, it's actually doing data integrity checks as it's backing up. It's looking at disk fragmentation, the file system, orphan file objects, and about half a dozen or better checks as it's backing up. And if it finds data in there or scenarios in there where it knows that, hey, if I back this up, I probably won't be able to virtualize this in a disaster recovery, so I'm actually going to fail the backup. And it will alert you, and it has great integration with ConnectWise. But that's one of the main things about the automated testing. Plus, it will do a differential on the last snapshot of every single night, just to kind of synchronize, make sure that everything is good and all the data is actually valid on the BDR. And then every night, if you activate it, it will do screenshot verifications around 2 a.m. where it will boot the last snapshot of the day and verify that it can get to the screenshot, or excuse me, to the login screen, and then take a screenshot of that and either embed that in your PSA. Again, it's compatible with ConnectWise, or it will email it to you to whatever email address that you want to go to, sending you that screenshot. On the extent, I've kind of already talked about the extensive data checks, so I got a little ahead of myself there. So Niraj, go ahead and go to the next point there. And then the deep ConnectWise integration. They've done a really good job with connecting to ConnectWise. They've actually got a ConnectWise deployment guide to get the Replibit appliance talking to ConnectWise is about a 5-minute. If you follow the guide, about a 5-minute deployment. The thing that I really am impressed about with Replibit talking to ConnectWise directly is that it will open tickets, and it will append tickets, and it will close tickets for you. So you can control the escalation path in ConnectWise, and when you're alerted about it, and if it's appended 3 times and it hasn't backed up in 3 hours, maybe it's at that point you'll go ahead and notify a tech or somebody to come in and check things out. Replibit does have the ability to do a lot of self-healing in backup jobs. So if a backup job failed, say at 11 o'clock, it's a pretty good chance it might succeed at the 12 o'clock, just for various reasons. So you can control the escalation path within ConnectWise. So, and then hardware agnostic. The beautiful thing about Replibit is when you go ahead and bring up the next bullet there that should be next to this, Replibit does come with its own operating system. It comes on, when you install Replibit, you're going to be installing a hardened version of Ubuntu 12.04, and it will also install all the Replibit appliance software, management software, and everything to manage the BDR. And you manage the BDR, and don't get afraid of the fact that it is running Linux on the back end of the BDR. That's actually an advantage to you, because it actually will reduce the total cost of ownership when you're deploying your own BDRs out to your customers, your physical devices. So again, Replibit does require a physical device because you are installing an operating system, a Linux operating system. But also now, unlike some of our other solutions that we offer, you don't have to provide a Windows operating system on the BDR itself. So you can save those licensing costs and increase your margins there. But the hardware agnostic, the 12.04 has a huge hardware supported base. So you can go to ubuntu.com/certification, and there you would be able to go look at the 12.04 version of Ubuntu and see if the hardware you have deployed is compatible. A lot of you will have BDRs, say from competitors or older BDRs that have been around for a year or two, and you want to port those over. You can go look at this list, the ubuntu.com/certification, to see if the hardware you have is compatible. So that's another good reason to take a look at Replibit. Let's go ahead and yeah, thanks, Niraj. So partner, where does Replibit fit in for you as an MSP IT provider? If you have heavy ConnectWise integration in with all your customers and all of your apps and other services, this is going to be huge for you. It actually will make it easier to manage and deploy and keep track of all of your backup jobs. It also will populate data for executive summaries that you can build in ConnectWise. So it's a great place. It is a great place to start if you're a heavy ConnectWise user. Next bullet. So MSPs who are looking for a simple deploy, easy to manage BDR solution. Replibit at first can be a big bite to chew, a big bite to bite off and chew. But once you go through some of the best practice classes and figure out all of the things that you need to do on the front end to avoid a lot of support tickets on the back end, it will actually be a very, very easy system to manage and deploy. One of the main features of Replibit is that the BDRs themselves, you can enable auto-updating, and it will auto-update if they come out with patches or new security updates or what have you. It will auto-update the appliance and also auto-update the agents that you have deployed. So that actually saves you a lot of man-hours and reduces your total cost of ownership, because if there's an important security patch that comes out, you have 50 Replibit servers and 100 to 150 Replibit agents out there, and you have this auto-update feature installed or turned on and configured, that's a lot of man-hours that you're not going to have to go out and spend connecting to each appliance and updating and making sure the agents are going. But also the single pane of glass. eFolder will actually provide a global management portal built by Replibit for you for the management. You can get your appliances at your customer site reporting into the global management portal and the status of it, and you'll actually be able to connect to that BDR from the management portal and manage it directly from there. So the GMP is a great single pane of glass for that. Again, the no chain dependencies. This actually is going to save you long-term overall in your storage footprint in the cloud as well. So if you think of long chain dependencies where you took a full backup 2 years ago and you're keeping those monthlies, weeklies, and whatever files that go between there, you don't need to keep those with the Replibit solution. So therefore, you don't need to have as large a footprint in the cloud. Also, because of the no chain dependencies, you don't have these roll-ups every day or every night and at the end of the week and at the end of the month. So if you have bandwidth issues at customer sites, Replibit might be a solution there for you if you have customers with low bandwidth. So Niraj, there's a lot of noise coming from your end. I don't know if you want to mute right now, if you have that ability.
I'm trying to figure out how to do that here.
Yeah, or just tell everybody in the background to be quiet.
Right.
So let's go on to the next one.
Sure. And Dave, before we move on to talking about our next BDR solution, I think it'd be good if we answered a few questions. So,
that's great. Yeah.
Yeah, Dale is asking, does Replibit have exchange granular recovery?
So that's a good question. It will back up Exchange servers. It is VSS aware, so it will make VSS calls before it takes the snapshot. Replibit itself does not do granular recovery for Exchange, down at the mailbox level, down at the message level. However, eFolder does sell a GRE, we call it our GRE tool, granular recovery for Exchange. It's actually an OEM'd version of Kroll OnTrack. So with the appliance, all you would need to do is make the point-in-time snapshot on the Replibit appliance. You would either mount that or make that snapshot presentable with an iSCSI target, and at that point, you would be able to use get access to the Exchange database with the Kroll tool. Point it at that as your source, point to your live Exchange server as your target, and literally just drag and drop out of the backup and restore that way. So it is fairly simple. You can do it, and our cost of the licensing of the Kroll tool is so inexpensive you'd like to fall off your chair. We won't talk about that on this call, but you can do that.
Okay,
So,
great. Thank you, Dave. And let's see, another question here from Scott. He asks, does the Linux OS have to reside on actual hardware, or can it be a virtual box?
So, the BDR, the Replibit BDR can be virtualized. However, that's not a supported environment that eFolder nor Replibit will support you on. I'm running it in all of our demo environments are running on ESX servers with nested virtualization turned on, and we can actually virtualize a snapshot inside of a virtualized VDR. So you can do that, but however, neither eFolder nor Replibit would support you in that manner. So you would be, if you ran into a problem, you'd be on your own, or until you complied with the support and getting it on a physical VDR. But I do it every day in our demo environment, but that's great for demo, but not really production there.
Okay, great.
Now the global management portal that they use, you can deploy your own. That can be virtualized because you're not virtualizing any snapshots on that. So if you wanted to host your own global management portal at your site, you can easily create a virtual machine and do that. But again, it's not recommended to do that with the BDR, with the appliance or the vault. And we haven't even talked about, actually go back to that other slide. The one thing that we haven't talked about is the Replibit Vault that we do have. So when you sign up to start deploying Replibit through eFolder, we will assign you a Replibit Vault in our cloud where you actually send the Replibit data to it. So it actually will send from Replibit appliance to a Replibit Vault. It's very quick, very easy to manage. You'll have web access to the Replibit Vault on the back end. Then if you have to fail over into the cloud with Replibit, you actually will get one of our continuity cloud nodes, export out a virtual snapshot to that from Replibit, and it goes fairly fast. We're seeing better speeds with Replibit restores to our continuity cloud nodes than any of our other technologies. So it's quite cool. So all right, we'll go ahead and move on there.
Yeah, let's go ahead and talk about eFolder BDR for Acronis.
Cool. So Acronis has got a long legacy name in the industry. A lot of you probably have been working with Acronis for 15, 20 years if you've been around for a while. By the way, I may actually, when I'm talking about Acronis here, say Anchor, because we have our Anchor file sync tool, our file and folder sync tool, and I kid you not, I will say Anchor when I'm talking about Acronis because I just get them mixed up. So just subconsciously, I mix them up. So I'm not talking about Anchor today. We're talking about Acronis, even though I'll say Anchor. But Anchor, see, I just did it. Acronis. Some of the great key features with the Acronis are flexible deployment options. So depending on the server that you're backing up, you can deploy Acronis without requiring a BDR on site. If you wanted just to provide, if you had a local repository for the backup to store locally, you could put the Acronis agent and the Acronis management server on the machine you're protecting, you kind of end up with a single point of failure there. But if a VDR is just too much for that particular customer, you can deploy the management server and the agent on the same machine and then back up to, say, a USB drive or a NAS device hanging on the network, and then be able to do, easy, flexible, file and folder level recovery. You lose the ability to do near instant virtual failover like you would have with Replibit with an appliance, or if you deployed Acronis with an appliance. But you do have some flexibility there. Go ahead and bring up the next one here. A thing that Acronis does that none of the other image-based backup tools that we have is Acronis will do image-based backup and file and folder level backup. Now, the file and folder level backup isn't as fast and as robust as eFolder's own homegrown built file and folder solution. But if you do have an environment where this comes in handy, where you have an environment where you're doing image-based backup on the machine, and that machine also has a NAS, a large NAS attached to it, and you want to back up that NAS as well, and maybe it's a simple Linux-based NAS, and you can't get a backup agent on it. Acronis works well for that, to where you can go in with file and folder, back up that NAS, and get it to the cloud for offsite disaster recovery. Go ahead and bring up, yeah, there we go, the next couple. So global deduplication. So the great thing about Acronis is locally you can enable deduplication. Now, the only time I would enable deduplication locally is if you have Acronis on a dedicated VDR. If you enable deduplication where you have a Acronis management server deployed on a single server that you're backing up, you would bring that server to a crawl and you'd never see it again, just because the deduplication process takes a lot of RAM and a lot of CPU. But if you have a dedicated VDR appliance for Acronis, you can enable deduplication locally and really maximize your space on the disk. Plus, it will actually dedupe going over the wire as well. That's one of the advantages that Acronis has, is when you have an Acronis vault in our cloud, we'll provide you a vault as the data destination. And when you go to do the backup job, you'll back up locally first, and then you'll do another for local backup, simple file and folder level recovery, instant virtualization locally. But then you'll do a secondary backup, sending the data to the cloud. And with Acronis, it will actually check the bits going back and forth, and if those bits do not exist in the cloud, it will go ahead and upload it. If it doesn't exist, if they do exist, it'll actually not send those exact bits to the cloud. And also, our vault that we provision for you, same with Replibit, it is a multi-tenant vault. So as you're uploading 2012 servers and other servers with applications, and those exact bits exist, you don't have to transfer up the whole 2012 server the next time you see your next customer, because there's going to be a lot of common bits within that vault in that repository. And we also do the deduplication in the cloud. Forever incremental. Let's talk about that. The way that Acronis will back up, and it does a kind of like a grandfather, father, son backup job, but the way that it actually does its roll-ups, you never, and because of the deduplication that's in the cloud, even if you fire off another full backup and you send that full backup to the cloud over the wire, it's going to look at the bits again and see if those bits exist. So you actually never have, once you have a full backup in the cloud with Acronis, you never really have to take, even if you take another full, you never have to seed another full again there because of the deduplication over the wire. And this works really, really well in customers that have low bandwidth solutions where they can't handle a large end-of-the-month collapsed monthly file like you get from StorageCraft. So that's one of the advantages there. Go ahead and bring up the other ones here, Neeraj. So this is also, I didn't talk about this with the Replibit as well, but with our solution with Replibit and Acronis, you can have separate on-site and off-site retention. So if you wanted to keep a year, 2 years worth of data locally for long-term backup, but say keep 30 days worth of backups in the cloud to lower your overall footprint in the cloud, to maximize space and make your wholesale costs predictable. You can do that with Acronis and also Replibit. You can have independent retention settings there. Now let's go on to the next one.
Here you go.
Yeah, let's go on to the next one, Nirosh.
Dave, can you see the last bullet? Agentless virtual backup.
Oh, sorry. You know what? I did miss that last bullet, Niraj. Thank you so much. This is actually, and this was the bullet I told you to add, so my bad. The agentless virtual backups on VMware and Hyper-V. With ShadowProtect and Replibit, if you've got a host, VMware host or Hyper-V host, with say 30 VMs on it, and you want to back up all 30 VMs, you're going to need 30 licenses of ShadowProtect or Replibit. Now, granted, we sell it in a bundle. You get, combined storage with that, so it does benefit your overall customer base because that storage aggregates to the partner, not the end user. But however, to save costs and keep costs low, if you're backing up virtualized environments and Veeam isn't a fit and you're not using Veeam, Acronis would be your next best solution here for agentless virtual backup. Acronis will back up through the APIs of the VMware and Hyper-V management servers, and they also have pricing. We have pricing in accordance with that. We have kind of like a virtual host for so much per month on a monthly subscription that it combines with so much space on the back end. So this works, again, Veeam's kind of the all-in-one virtualization solution backup monster for VMware and Hyper-V, but Acronis is a good second if Veeam is just too much to bite off as well.
Cool, thank you, Dave.
Okay.
There's one question here from Roger that I think it'd be good to answer. What are the minimum hardware system builds for the BDR software?
For Roger, I would assume we're talking about Acronis or Replibit. So that question, you don't have to reply in the chat, Roger, because that question is really hard to answer because the minimums to actually get like Acronis up and running and get it backing up is probably, a server with, single socket server with 4 cores and 4 gigs of RAM. You could easily get an Acronis BDR built and up and running. Now, what can you do with it after that? Not much. So if we talk about minimum system requirements to actually make the Acronis or the Replibit server run on the back end, it's actually very low system requirements. But what you have to look at, and what's the hard question to answer, is what are you backing up? And this goes for ShadowProtect, Acronis, and also Replibit. You need to look at your customers' environments, and if they've got 10 machines and 6 of them are mission critical, and they want to back up all 10, but say virtualize 6 of them because they have mission critical line of business applications there, then you need to look at those 6 particular servers and the apps they're running and what their used data is, what their used RAM and CPU, and you want to plan for worst case scenario. I see a lot of partners that will take and repurpose a 3-year-old, 5-year-old server and repurpose it as a BDR. Well, as a BDR appliance for, say, like Replibit or for ShadowProtect. Well, that's great because you can throw a lot of storage at it. But if you have to virtualize 6 of those machines or 10 of those machines on that appliance, you actually want a pretty beefy BDR to do all that near instant failover for your client. So again, that's why it's hard to answer that question, because it all depends on your customer's infrastructure, what their recovery time objectives are, what the recovery point objectives are, how far in between the backups are, if they're every hour or every day, and plus what the retention settings are for locally maybe versus what's in the cloud. So, but the way I kind of tell people is you need to look to see which of the machines, worst case scenario, if I have to fail over 4 or 5 of these machines on this box, if we have a massive failure of these 5 physical hosts die or 5 physical machines die, then I need to know the RAM, the CPU, and the disk usage and kind of plan accordingly. Now, Acronis, you're going to want double your disk space if you're planning on doing near instant virtualization. So if you're backing up a terabyte worth of data from 4 machines and you want to recover those 4 machines near instant virtualization, well, you need to double that storage because Acronis will do virtual standby jobs where the backups come in and they export those backups out as a virtual disk, so you got to double up your storage. Where Replibit and ShadowProtect, you can actually just boot those point-in-time images. In fact, Replibit will convert those snapshots into an actual virtual disk for you on the fly. So there is no conversion. You simply tell it to boot, where ShadowProtect will boot the image, and you don't need to double up your storage with ShadowProtect or Acronis or ShadowProtect or Replibit. You just need to plan for storage growth. So, Roger, that was a long answer for that question, but it's a hard question to answer.
No, thank you, Dave. I think hopefully he finds that helpful. And then let me see. There's one more question here. I think that would be good to answer. The dedupe need to be enabled locally for across the wire dedupe to work?
So the dedupe locally does not need to be enabled locally. I just said that twice. So the local dedupe does not need to be enabled for the dedupe across the wire. The vault that we provision for you in the cloud, by default, when you set up that vault, that repository, and go through those steps, as part of those steps, and it's in our user guides and we train you how to do it, you turn on deduplication on the vault at the destination, and that's what turns on the deduping over the wire.
Cool. All right, thanks.
Cool.
So let's move on to ideal deployment scenarios for BDR for Acronis.
Okay, yeah, bring up. We need to pick up the pace. I just looked at the time. We've still got ShadowProtect to go through. So, yeah, partners who want deduplication over the wires for low bandwidth solutions. We've talked about that. MSPs who need global deduplication for both locally and in the cloud. And that might be for maybe larger environments or environments where you have a lot of the same data on different servers and where deduplication locally makes sense. That's when you want to use Acronis for sure. Clients who benefit from both image-based backup and file level as well. This is the only one of our BDR solutions, backup disaster recovery solutions, that have file-based backup built into it. So, you know, if you want kind of an all-in-one solution, if you have a customer that needs both, Acronis might be the solution for you. But keep in mind, again, that file and folder level backup is not nearly as fast as image-based, and you probably would be better off using, say, our file and folder level backup that, you know, eFolder grew up on. That's our regular file and folder backup tool. Okay, and then different backup jobs for local versus the cloud. This is kind of important too, where, you know, you might have a customer that only wants one snapshot a day going to the cloud, but wants hourly locally. Acronis, because you're running 2 backup jobs, makes that very, very easy to manage, having different, you know, RPOs locally and going to the cloud. Okay, go ahead and go on to the next one.
All right, ShadowProtect.
So, key features for ShadowProtect. ShadowProtect probably is the most versatile deploy. It has, you know, I mean, the widest range of the ways that you can deploy ShadowProtect. As an example, you don't need a BDR at all. If your customer does not need with ShadowProtect does not need near instant virtualization, then you don't need a physical appliance on site. You just need something with storage, right? That could be a USB drive attached to the back end of the server. It could be a NAS device. It could be a shared folder on another machine that has a lot of disk space. As an example, I have a ThinkPad laptop where I have my regular built-in CD drive, or excuse me, my hard drive, and I've taken out the CD caddy and put in a hard drive caddy where the CD goes, where I have a second disk installed, and actually in my own laptop back up my C drive to my D drive with ShadowProtect. And that way, while I'm on the road and traveling for eFolder, I know that my machine's being protected 24 hours a day. And then our own file and folder tool that I was talking about just a second ago picks up those ShadowProtect images that Image Manager is managing and doing the collapse daily and monthly. It will pick up those dailies and ship them to the cloud, and at the end of the month pick up the monthly and ship it to the cloud. works really well. I've never had a liquid problem with it, and it works really, really good. Now, the cross-site replication, this actually works really well. Our file and folder tool, we built in some ShadowProtect replication into our own software, that where it understands that if you have a customer with site A versus site B, and they want to replicate from site to site, maybe a New York office to an LA office and vice versa, our file and folder software will look at the ShadowProtect data and know either you can actually do a backup of the data from one side to the other, or actually do real-time replication. So if you've got every hour on the hour coming in incrementals, it will pick up those incrementals, ship them across the wire, or you can actually choose just to replicate that end of the collapse daily as well. Plus, maybe site-to-site replication and still go to the eFolder cloud, because we don't sell ShadowProtect without selling cloud storage. So you might as well have a third option of sending that to the eFolder cloud, as it shows in the graph here in the middle. Deep integration with RMM, like LabTech is one that I know of. When I was at StorageCraft, I worked with the LabTech folks and getting them all the APIs and everything so that they can manage. But there are other tools out there, other RMM tools that will manage your ShadowProtect deployments for you and help you do that. So because it is an industry standard tool and has been around the block a lot, there is a lot of RMM options there. Let's keep going there. So it can be deployed with or without a BDR. I talked about that. I always get ahead of myself, sorry. Extensive chain management and chain verification. One of the things that I believe that ShadowProtect has done a very, very good job of is the chain management. Even though they do that continuous incremental where they take a one-time full backup and they do incrementals forever, and it will never do another full backup unless you go in and manually kick one off and start the chain over. But ShadowProtect or StorageCraft has done a great job with their image manager tool that will verify and re-verify the chain dependencies. And it doesn't verify and re-verify all of the files, only the files that are needed if you had to recover from 15 minutes ago. And they've done some good job over the year where they've installed, I think it's coming up to about a 3-year-old feature where you can now start to drop off your monthly files. So if you looked at ShadowProtect, say, 3 years ago, 4 years ago, 5 years ago, and you saw there were 24-month chain dependencies, and you're like, hey, that's not for me, I don't want something that long. ShadowProtect now, or excuse me, Image Manager now has the ability to say, I want to keep, say, 6 months worth of monthlies, and it will drop off the older monthlies and still keep that chain dependency intact, which that also helps for your footprint in the cloud, so you're not growing your cloud footprint so large that where you're starting to get overage charges like you would have seen maybe 2 years ago, 3 years ago. Plus, we've changed our pricing to accommodate these large chain dependencies with large footprints. We've now accommodate our pricing where we're giving you bundled storage with our ShadowProtect licenses. That makes it fall off the log backwards easy to quote this out and ensure that you're going to remain profitable throughout the whole entire length of your contract with your customer. And that's the case with all of our BDR solutions. We're doing the bundled storage, except for our Aperture. Our Aperture is still priced per gigabyte. So then the ability to restore to dissimilar hardware, although Replibit and Acronis has this ability, ShadowProtect does a fantastic job. I've got oodles and oodles of stories of when I was at StorageCraft and since I have been at eFolder where I've helped restore data to dissimilar hardware that it shouldn't run on, where hey, the drivers aren't on the CD, let's go download them from the website, extract the drivers, give it to the ShadowProtect recovery environment, and inject the drivers into the hardware abstraction layer and literally boot it to dissimilar hardware. And that's kind of what Niraj was talking about before, the ability to go from physical to virtual, virtual back to physical, or any direction you need to go with it. ShadowProtect does an amazing job at that. Okay, let's go on. So where does ShadowProtect fit for you as an MSP? Well, if you've used ShadowProtect with other BDR type solutions from some of our competitors. Maybe you were a long early adapter, or not a long, but an early adapter of a Zenith BDR, and you're very familiar with the continuous incrementals and everything else like that. It's come a long way since version 3.5.2 that you were stuck on with Zenith. And there's a lot of features, there's a lot of reasons to take a look at StorageCraft and ShadowProtect again if you were an old Zenith user. But if you've used ShadowProtect before with other solutions, there's little to no learning curve sending that data to the eFolder cloud. It's literally learning our file and folder solution, how to pick up that data and send it to the cloud, which we can teach you in less than about a half an hour. And we've got documents that walk you through that. And MSPs that need integration with AutoTask and ConnectWise. One of the things that our backup manager software does really well is we keep an eye on ShadowProtect, and we keep an eye on Image Manager. We kind of babysit those two. And as things are coming in and we're expecting the next incremental in the chain or expecting the next collapse daily, or we see Image Manager throws an error that it can't collapse and it can't do what it needs to do because the chain's broken, we'll pick up this stuff and send it to our web portal. And our web portal integrates with AutoTask and ConnectWise. So we will actually go in and you can configure through our partner management portal the ability for our web portal to send data, to send that data and open a ticket for you. And some of that billing information comes across as well. But also, sometimes, backups stop working locally because maybe an agent stops. So no news is not good news when it comes to backup. So our web portal will be watching for the backups coming in. So you have a secondary layer of eyes watching for ShadowProtect backups. If our backup manager software stops sending data to the cloud, our cloud will notify AutoTask or ConnectWise and say, hey, you know what? It's been 3 days since I've seen a backup. So it's another set of eyes keeping on your ShadowProtect deployment. And clients who don't need near instant virtualization, maybe it's just not, they don't have line of business applications that need to be up in 15 minutes. ShadowProtect is great because you don't need to provide them a BDR. You can back up locally, again, to local storage, a NAS, USB drive, or like my laptop, I can go to a secondary hard drive built into the CD caddy, and then do a bare metal recovery back. ShadowProtect is great for those solutions, but then you still use our file and folder tool to get that to the cloud. All right, let's go to the next couple. I don't know where this hour's going, Niraj, but it's going fast. So here's kind of the overall matrix of the different features here. I'm not going to go over this here. There's just too much. This will be made available to you in the, with slides we'll send out later. Cool. So let's go ahead and go on to the next one. So pricing for these, the ShadowProtect starts out at $75 per server per month. There is a minimum if you're new to eFolder. We do have a minimum of a 3 server minimum to buy into it, so it's only $225 a month. You can put those licenses at different customers. You don't have to put them all at one. But then overall, it's tiered licensing. So once you hit like 10 licenses, your overall price drops. And once you hit like 50 licenses, your overall pricing drops. Plus that 2 terabytes, again, on all of these, that 2 terabytes aggregates to the partner, not to the customer. So let me give you an example. If you have 10 ShadowProtect licenses, Acronis or Replibit, let's just keep it with ShadowProtect, you get 2 terabytes per license, so you have 20 terabytes of available ShadowProtect storage. Collectively, and let's say those are divided on 2 customers, collectively your 2 customers have to go over 20 terabytes for you to receive any overage charges. And that's the same way it's written across all of our BDR solutions. Even our Veeam solution has bundled, but our Aperture doesn't. Today it's still 20 cents per gigabyte there. The Acronis server, again, 60 and a terabyte. The only one we didn't put here is our Acronis virtual server. I believe is $150 for the actual host itself to back up the host, and it comes with 2 terabytes worth of disk space. And then obviously you can read the Replibit.
Yeah.
So I'm going to throw it back over to you now.
Thank you, Dave. Dave, that was super helpful, and Hopefully, I think there's like a minute or two left in the hour. Just real quick, when it comes to selling and marketing BDR, we know a lot of our partners are kind of, they wish they had resources available to them to do that really easily and kind of explain the need for a business continuity solution. And that's why eFolder has created a business continuity playbook, which is chock full of a lot of marketing and selling tools like brandable white papers that we've already written. You can put your own name on, pre-written blogs, an ebook that again you can rebrand with your own name and logo, a generic video that we produce without mention of eFolder. So you can kind of say, hey, we created this video, a brandable brochure, and a lot more. So we provide this playbook actually to all of our VDR partners, and we're going to send it out to everyone who attended today's session as just so that they can get a look at it and see how easy we make it to sell and market your BDR solution. There's only about a minute left. Let's see. Here's one question from Ben that you might be able to help out with, Dave. He says, I have a client with one physical server running 3 VMware virtual servers. What is the best BDR software for this environment where I can get virtualization and recovery of the entire physical server and virtual machines?
So that question is always hard to answer because you could throw a ShadowProtect Acronis or a Replibit agent on the host if it's a Windows-based host, and back up the host, and then hopefully, if it's, the VSS framework is working well and you're running Windows servers on the others, that the virtual machines are getting quiesced and getting backed up. I never recommend backing up just the host and hopefully getting the virtual machines. If you have business critical virtual machines running or business critical applications running in those VMs, you either need to go with like a host-based backup like an Acronis or a Veeam so that you're getting all of the virtual machines for like one low cost. But for something that, or put an agent base like Replibit or ShadowProtect on the host and each of the virtual machines. So in that case, with something that small, an Acronis would be easy to deploy, but again, you probably would require a BDR, and you're looking at near instant failover. So I would say any one of them, Replibit, ShadowProtect, or Acronis here would work well. I would probably steer you towards putting an agent on each one. And so I probably would recommend either Replibit or ShadowProtect for either one of those. Just simple for management, ease of management's sake.
Great. Okay, awesome. And then one more question to close off. Actually, I just want to reiterate before we close off that we are going to send a copy of these slides and a copy of the recording to everyone who attended. So you'll definitely be able to watch it again and, recap whatever Dave said if you missed something, because I know there was a lot of really helpful information that Dave provided. One final question, Dave, before we sign off is from Dale. He asks, will Replibit open a ticket in ConnectWise if the appliance has completely failed? Or if not, does your portal open a ticket in our ConnectWise like it does now with our ShadowProtect BDR?
Good question. Let's take the second question. Well, let's take the first part of that question first. I'm going to answer it backwards. If the appliance fails, the integration comes from the appliance. So if say the hardware on your appliance fails, there's nothing there to notify you that something has gone bad. So no, but if you're having problems, and you're watching your ConnectWise, you should see these problems with your appliance coming soon. You're coming in there. Most of the time, the reporting is around the backups themselves. So I would recommend using an RMM tool that does have Linux support to, watching or something to that effect to monitor the BDR itself through RMM versus through ConnectWise, just like you would any regular physical server. And then secondly, the ShadowProtect, if you remember, we talked about it a little bit ago, our file and folder technology is what picks up the ShadowProtect data and sends it to our cloud, and that also integrates with our web portal and gives you all that statistics. That file and folder solution is the only way to get those stats and everything into our web portal, and that's not utilized in the Replibit solution today. We are looking at a way to monitor the backups and the vaults and the repositories and everything else like that with Replibit and get it in there. We're actually doing, we've got a big project on revamping our web portals going on right now. There's no ETA on anything, but it is on our roadmap to make all of our BDR solutions report into some central web pane of glass, but I don't have an ETA today. But the beautiful thing about Replibit is it does have a global management portal where you can see if you add all of your customers' appliances plus the eFolder Vault into the global management portal, you do have a single pane of glass where you can see the appliance status, the backup status, and what's happening, and even connect to the appliance and manage it there. So if you want to see that, somebody will contact you and give you a demo on that.
Yep. All right. Well, I think we're right at about the hour, so a little bit over the hour. So we'll go ahead and stop there. But Dave, again, thank you so much for all of your help today.
Oh, my pleasure.
Yeah, I mean, I think everybody found this really helpful, including me. And yeah, we'll definitely be sending out to everyone a recording and copy of the slides if you'd like to take a look at them again. This is Miraj Periwal signing off from here in San Francisco. Thank you all for joining, and have a great rest of your day.
Take care.